In this session, we are going to learn about painting our Henri Rousseau jungle painting. This is the first part where we'll do the background and kind of the first layer of stuff. So, to get started, you're going to need a finished, completed, Sharpied painting, and you're going to need the following supplies. You're going to need a palette with palette paper. You're going to need a paper towel to blot your brush, and of course your brush. You're going to need 1 cup of clean water, 1 empty cup to put your dirty water in, and 1 little individual cup to dump your clean water in and clean out your own personal brush. You're also going to need the box of paints with all of the colors. They should all have red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple. They should have brown, black, white, turquoise, and some of them have peach, but you should all have just the one color. If you have 2 of the same color, that means somebody else is missing it, so find out who it belongs to and give it to them, please. To start with, take your water cup, put a little bit in your personal water cup, and leave the clean and the dirty water cup out in the front of the table. You should usually have your painting supplies sitting on this side so you can mix and then paint. If you're left-handed, you would have it on the left-hand side. Okay, I'm right-handed, so I usually have my stuff on the right-hand side. However, I need to make room so you can see my painting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of slide it like this so you can see it. I'm actually going to kind of put my palette right off the screen down here at the bottom so that you can see my painting mostly, and then I'll put my palette in when you need to see it. So there we go. We're going to start with my painting, and what you're going to do in the first part, like I said, is the background, like the sky, the grass in the back, and you're going to kind of do all those things in the background, and then we're going to let it dry, and then we're going to paint the next session. We'll paint the trees and stuff in front. So let's get started. We're going to use some blue for our sky, and remember, the whole point, well, not the whole point, but almost the whole point of this lesson is tints and shades, right? So we're going to use blue. The dark blue here is the real blue. This is actually turquoise. It's got some green in it, but you can use both of them. And then we're going to make some tints, because usually the sky is lighter. So we're going to make tints and shades of those blue colors. And I mean, if you want to have a dark, kind of ominous looking painting, you could make shades with black. But this is what you're going to need, and you're going to kind of start by mixing your colors. We don't want to have them all super duper blue. We're going to have most of it be tint. So I'm going to take some blue, put it over here, and add some white into it to make a tint, okay, for my sky. And then I'm going to use this to make a tint here in just a minute, but I don't want to mix my colors up just yet. So first I'm going to look and find where all my sky pieces are, and then I'm going to start painting those in. So I haven't washed my brush out yet. I haven't got any water on it, so I'm just going to start painting. Remember, you're always holding your brush like a pencil, okay, right behind the ferrule, and you're just going to start painting. You want to try to get right up close. If you overlap on top of your trees, that's all right. But you want to try to do a nice job of what's called cutting in, where you go right up to the edge and then you pull the brush along the next piece. So you can see how I neatly am painting, pulling my brush, trying not to leave a bunch of different strokes. If you get some paint on the table, that's alright. That's why we wash the tables at the end. Okay. And part of our painting skills is overpainting. That's where we're going to use some extra paint to kind of go on top of what we've already got. And notice how as I'm working down here, I just kind of keep mixing up different batches of blue, light tint of blue, as I go, and I try to kind of keep my paint pretty consistent. Rather than mixing up a whole sheet of blue, you want to try to do the best you can just to mix it as you go so you don't waste it. Now, as I'm mixing this up, I kind of keep trying to take some out, and I pull my brush just right around. If I need to, I can pull my brush this way, I can pull it that way, and some of these parts in here might be a little difficult because we've got so much going on. So what you're going to do is this: if you accidentally go over something, okay, you can see it's still there because we did a good job sharpening, right? So if you accidentally go over the edge, like see I just purposely went over that edge right there, we'll kind of know where it is so you can fill it in later. Try to kind of paint around the leaves the best that you can, and at this point you might want to use a little bit of water. Okay, there's my water cup. I'm just going to touch my water a little bit and add it in just a little bit to kind of make your paint a little bit waterier. And then when you paint over, you'll still be able to see those leaves. Now it might be kind of hard to see because of the projector, but I can still 1, 2, 3, and there's my fourth one. I can still see those leaves faintly underneath there. So if you need to, you can kind of thin out your paint a little bit so that you still have enough thick paint that you're making the sky nice and blue, but you can still see, like if I paint over this stuff right here now, you can still see those leaves. Just a faint shadow. That's why we used the Sharpie, so that later when we started painting the leaves and stuff, you can still see where you're supposed to be. So right now I've just got very thin paint and I'm kind of dragging it across the surface so that we can still see those leaves behind there. I'm going to keep going and add just a little more water because I don't want it to be super thick at this point. I'm going to add some turquoise. Notice how that changes it to like a cooler blue rather than a warm blue. And I'm going to paint right up here next to my palm tree. Notice I accidentally went over the line. Not trying to be sloppy, but accidents happen. Okay, and we want to leave ourselves a little area there where we know our tree is going to be, but we want to make sure we fill in the background sky really nicely so there's no white paper left over when we're done. So as you can see, I'm just kind of filling it in, painting over the top, but you can still see those leaves. If I take my hand away, you can still see the leaves right over here underneath that blue paint, but then we're going to paint over the top of it later. So there'll be plenty of blue paint in the background. However, you'll still see the things that you need to see. So here's the sky. Just going to kind of finish painting this in quickly because all the talking is pretty much done. Okay. And if you want to fast forward it at this point, Mr. Lundgren, fast forward. Make sure you get all the way down to your horizon line. I just add a little bit of water in each time, just a little bit, just enough so that it's thin enough so we can see through it, but just thick enough so that it covers in the background. Okay, a little bit more here. Notice I'm mixing my paint thoroughly each time. So there you go. You can see we've got the whole background sky done, and it's not too dark, so we can still see the branches and other stuff behind it, so that later on when we come back to paint it, we can still see that stuff. Okay, and that concludes the first session of our part 1 jungle painting.